You know, when I started my channel, I was really anti-gun. As most Romanians are, if you place a weapon in front of me, I will scream in horror. It's got this aura of dread. Unless you color it pink. Unironically, the psychological effect is there. The more black it looks, the scarier the weapon. But like if you color it pink and you put an anime waifu drawn on it as a decal, then it's fine. I don't know why. It is what it is. But I'm now very pro-gun. In fact, if there was a politician that supported a Second Amendment in Romania, I would vote him no matter what party he is from. Even if he is a Marxist, even if he is far-right, I don't care. If you support the Second Amendment, you got my vote. So how did the Americans manage to convince me? Well, the first one is ideological. I genuinely do not understand why a police officer should have a weapon, but my neighbor shouldn't. Is the police officer more trustworthy? Like, is he a superhuman being? Does he get, like, more knowledge than other people? Like, why can he have it, but I can't? Right? So that's the first question. Like, why are some of the most corrupt people, according to Romanian media, which are the politicians and the government, why do they get to have weapons, but the average citizen doesn't? So that is like the first reason. The other reason is that every single time I see the left going after the guns in the US, they have to lie. Either lie by omission, or flat out lie, or they're just incredibly ignorant about it. Almost like they don't care about the safety, and instead they have a different agenda, which, again, makes it suspicious. They get to have guns, right? Because every politician, while not necessarily directly carrying, they have a security detail. So why should they be able to have protection? Why aren't arguing against their security detail, you know? Like, American people should be like, okay, you want to take away my guns? You shouldn't have a security detail either. And then it would be interesting to see how the conversation goes. But until then, we get articles like this. America wants to ban pornography, but not fully automatic weapons. A number of US states are proposing bans on porn, but not on firearms. What do guns and porn have to do with each other, by the way? Like, I know there's a fetish, and I do agree that women with weapons are hot, but either than that, this is just bizarre, and if anything, this is an argument to stop banning porn. But look at how deceptive they are. I mean, with a headline like this, why even read the articles, right? So they frame it as fully automatic weapons in the tagline, and then they go on and they say firearms. So if you don't know what a full automatic weapon does, and most Europeans don't, it's when the gun goes prrrr, okay? Like, that is it. And that's what they want to ban, right? Because in the American Constitution, you are allowed to carry weapons, like you are allowed to have firearms, but you're not allowed to do the brrrr. So the interesting thing is that the fully automatic weapons are already banned. And it's very difficult to find one. Most of them have been made, I think, up to 1986, the year I was born and Chernobyl exploded. I'm literally the atomic child. But because they're so rare, they cost around 20 grand, from what my American subscribers tell me. So it's already very difficult to get one, even if you have the license and the registration and the requirements. They're very expensive. And not to mention that full automatic also sucks. Like, if you play any first-person shooter, you don't even need to have a history of modern combat in order to understand why it sucks. In first-person shooters, single shot is more efficient, and then you have burst. But you don't want to hold the mouse down, because then you get the recoil and you're not going to hit anything. So what is full auto designed to do? It's designed for enemy suppression. Like, if you have a squad of soldiers and they want to move from point A to point B, you're going to use full auto so that the enemy keeps in duck and cover. But that's it, right? Like, either did that, maybe use it against a vehicle or something similar, but you rarely want to use it at all. Because first of all, you're not going to hit anything, like it's very unlikely. And secondly, if you do hit something, you're probably going to hit it with 15 bullets when 2 would have done the job. Right? So, like, why are they going after the full auto? Well, they're going after the full auto in order to chip away at the do not infringe in the Constitution. Because from my knowledge, most leftists, especially journalists, and sometimes even politicians, have no idea about weapons at all. And they don't even understand the terminology. Like, I've seen them use full semi-automatic, which just doesn't make sense. And what they are trying to do is to get into the mind of the public that more bullets means more damage, right? So, like, more bullets is more lethal. And therefore, we are going to ban more bullets. That's what they're trying to accomplish, and they did. And now that they banned full auto, they go like, okay, well, now we have the sensible regulations in place. Now the foot is in the door. So if the foot is in the door, like if we ban full auto, why can't we ban more things? Right? And it just goes down the line, and they start banning like several things that usually gun owners don't really use or care about that much. But eventually they are going to try to ban all weapons, because that is where they are heading. That's what they are trying to accomplish. Unfortunately, I don't think they can accomplish that, because the left now has guns as well. After the protests that happened right before Trump lost office, anyone could look at the television set and get 1,000 reasons on any channel they would flick on why they should get a gun. And it was that bad that at that point I remember seeing videos with left-leaning people being shocked about how difficult it is to purchase a weapon in the United States. Because they literally thought that they will go to the gun store, they will put the money down, and they will get a gun. And it turns out it's not like that. I mean, that's what the journalists make it seem like, but in reality, there's a different situation. And they were even trying to bribe the store owner. The store owner, like I remember like 5 different videos from 5 different gun owners, and they were absolutely livid and fed up with the leftists. Because while they appreciated the patronage, they were annoyed because every single time they had to talk with them and they tried to bribe them to give them a weapon faster, and they would say that's not how it works. Like, you don't just give the money and you get a weapon. No, like there's a process. You gotta put your name here, and you gotta wait. And this is all because of the legislation that the left passed to begin with, right? So no, I do think that the gun debate is over in the United States, at least for a generation, because when you purchase something, even if it's not that expensive, it's very unlikely that you're going to you're going to vote for a politician that will sign for a law to take it away. But the main problem that I have with this, and by the way, like, this is what I want to say. It doesn't matter if you're pro-gun or anti-gun. I don't like the disingenuous of the argument, right? You gotta appreciate that. Like, even if someone were to argue on my behalf, if they're being disingenuous twats, I would be the first to say, hey, can you please stop? Like, make the argument properly. Why are you trying to trick people? Why are you trying to be doing this type of nonsense, equating porn with weapons? Why are you trying to say that, oh, they don't want to ban fully automatic weapons, but then you switch over to firearms? Like why do you use this disgusting molten belly tactic, right? So, like, this is my point. Because at the end of the day, I don't live in the United States, like, whatever. But it really annoys me on how disingenuous the arguments are becoming. And how they are trying to trick people into giving away their rights. And not only that, right? Like, the politicians, as I mentioned before, not only do they have Secret Service, but they sometimes also push the idea that cops are bad, cops are evil. I mean, you had this idea pushed so far that it was to the point where some politicians were saying defund the police, right? So, like, the average individual doesn't have access to cops, doesn't have access to guns, and yet the criminals can do whatever they want. That's called London. Like, you already have that shit in London. I actually have someone, like, just so you can understand how dumb over-regulations are. And that this is actually happening in a nation, like it exists in the world. It's not just something that I'm pulling out of my ass or hypothetical. I have a friend who moved to London. One day, he finds out, like, he lives at the ground floor, and one day he finds out that the guy was breaking into his house. Like, literally just going through the window, right? So, he gets shocked, the guy runs away. Now, my friend can't sleep at night. Like, he's getting this image of someone just simply entering into his house. I mean, that is a huge violation of privacy. Now, what's interesting is that if he is to defend himself and hurts that guy can sue. That is the law of the land. That is a progressive utopia. But not only that, he's not even allowed to install bars at the window. Because all the houses have to look the same. Like, there's regulations for that. So, like, when you fight against the law-abiding citizen, when you're making legislation to simply fuck with the law-abiding citizen, your country becomes an undesirable place to live in. Like, that guy now wants to come back to Romania. He's like, well, at least in Romania, this wouldn't happen. In Romania, like, I can put bars at my window, I can have an axe in my home, I can have a vicious dog or something to defend myself. But in London, you can't. Right? So, it is what it is. The politicians don't have to deal with this shit because they live usually in compounds, they got security, they have huge walls, so they don't have to deal with this nonsense. But this nonsense is going to have to be dealt with the average citizen that supports this. Sometimes the average citizen that doesn't support this, but the people around him do. You know, when they talk about guns, they also don't talk about how much crime they stop, right? And most of the time, I'm willing to bet that you don't even have to fire the weapon, despite the fact that the Americans are trained. It's like, no, if you pull it out, you have to fire it. But like, imagine this, you know, like someone tries to mug you, and you just flash the weapon, and they leave you alone, right? Like, that just prevented the crime from happening. If someone tries to rape a woman, and she goes into her purse and pulls her gun, and the person runs away, she didn't fire it, didn't have to, but it prevented the crime from happening, right? This is why try that in a small town, I think, obsessed the media so fucking much. This is literally why, because they know why you don't try that in a small town.